Hello, and welcome
Hello
to season 5 of the Drunk Doctor Who podcast. Today we're watching the salad croutons.
Alright.
After a long hiatus of
Long hiatus of Wuhan coronavirus.
the CCP virus.
Okay, this is the communist Chinese Communist Party coronavirus. This is not season 5. If anything, this would be season 3 because we're now into our third year.
Third year.
All right, we had our anniversary going over the coronavirus.
Why is Jamie in black and Zoe in red?
What? Because I don't know.
No continuity.
No. Because Jamie was there first, and you erased the other guys and put in Zoe.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any black markers at the
Let's
time.
fix that. Do we have nerds? I need it.
Use an eraser. Make it uniform if you want. All right.
Retcon.
Okay, so here we go. Here's the first Doctor. Ooh. We
are currently get our item free.
We are currently on the second Doctor. Look, Roman numeral 2. Yay! I got these from a really nice gentleman artist who said I could use them for the podcast. Thank you, Mr. Nice Gentleman Artist. I forget your name. But I bought these.
Well, it probably says.
Yeah, I can't read that.
Kroger?
I can't read that. Anyway, thank you so much.
We'll
Second Doctor.
We're
Almost done with the second Doctor. Anyway, so we are currently on the Krotons. This is season 6 of Doctor Who. Krotons.
Krotons. Oops.
Krotons. Krotons. Oh my gosh.
I fixed it.
So we've been drinking.
I got you.
Alright, Drunk Doctor Who, what do you expect? Anyway, so this serial is 4 episodes long. Really could have been 6, but it's just 4.
I think 5 might have been the sweet spot.
5, yeah, it's really
6 might have drawn on a little bit long, but 4
it's really tight.
was certainly an action-packed
speed thingy.
To be fair, I almost prefer that because it's just so non-stop, balls to the walls action. You know, doesn't allow for a whole lot of world building, and you know, it doesn't explain the plot or the backstory too well. But that's okay. Sometimes you just want to dive right into the action and the. What are we drinking today, Hatter?
I tried a Manhattan earlier, but I put in too much bitters.
Too many bitters.
So it wasn't good. I will try that again later. But at the moment, I am drinking Magma Flames and my whiskey, and you?
I have been drinking Twisted Teas
all evening.
I think we're about to finish our...
Gosh, I love Magma Flame. Okay, give you a background. Like I said, season 6 of Doctor Who. We're on the second Doctor.
3. So we're averaging 2 seasons per podcast season.
More than that. We're averaging almost 3.
Cool.
We would have hit 3 if not for the stupid coronavirus thing.
Yeah, it's just so inconvenient. You couldn't have waited virus to...
It's a pandemic. What do you want? It's been like 2 months, 8 weeks since we've done the last podcast. Alright, stupid coronavirus, but we're all good and well, and my wife and his fiance are good and well, so thank you for your support, everyone. Alright, so the Krotons is episode 47, serial 47 of Doctor Who, our episode 47. They will soon not be in sync, but they still currently are. 4 episodes airing from 12/28/1968 to January 18th, 1969. Bands Zoe and Jamie, and the antagonists...
Krotons.
Alright. Hopefully we'll have an intro for this episode if he sends it to my phone, if he sends it to my computer.
Yeah, we're trying out new things. You're barefoot.
What?
So for Switch, I was thinking about getting you a pair of feet socks with the toes, but it's socks that look like feet, and you can wear those and you'd be Twitch approved, so we can live stream.
Yeah.
Because technically you won't be barefoot, but you'll have socks that look like
if
feet.
Twitch does not want my bare feet on camera, they can do whatever they want to do. I don't care.
You know, we can YouTube live stream now. That's the thing.
We can. I haven't done that yet. I probably could have tried during the last 8 weeks, but I had other things to do.
What I hear is YouTube live streaming is very bad for your channel analytics. It throws off all your things.
Dude, we have like 22 subscribers, and each video might get like 10 views. Except for the history of Doctor Who, which I put up, which has
very popular.
Good number of views. Well, like 70.
Well spoken.
Yeah,
People like that.
Not thousands. It has 70 or something, but that's good. But anyway, so the Krotons, the Doctor, Jamie, and Zoe land on. Do they ever name the planet?
I don't think so.
They land on a random planet that looks yet again like a quarry in Wales or England. They wander around. They soon discover that there are some people, the Gons, who live on the planet in a very weird architecture.
Mm-hmm.
They wander down
They
there.
almost look like miniatures. They're how their buildings.
Oh yeah, it's only a model.
They look like really tiny.
Yeah, you've seen.
But they weren't really. They're actually huge buildings.
You've seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's only a model. So anyway, they go down to one of the buildings where there's a metal door coming out of it.
Machine structure.
Exactly.
Which is organic.
Eventually. And the door opens up and a person wanders out. And
Abu Gond wanders out.
Abu Gond.
Who's thoroughly...
Gond is the name of the race and also the surname of everyone in the race. And what you see maybe 50 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're pretty inbred.
We see about 5 of them.
No, there's more than that. There's extras in the background. And Abu Gond is disintegrated. Turns out that their race, the Gons, do whatever the Krotons tell them.
Mm-hmm.
And the top 2, one male, one female of each generation is selected to become a companion of the Krotons.
Does it say that they have to be male and female? It's just the top 2 people that score highest on their learning machine.
It's never fully specified.
But the examples we're giving are typically
one male,
one female. Not for any specific
That's
reason.
fine. It's kind of a Hunger Games kind of thing.
Yeah, it reminded me of Hunger Games, the opening season. It's like Abu Gond and Vanagon have been selected. A great honor. And they're like, it's really not a great honor.
You're going to be killed.
We don't know what happens.
You don't live up to what they want of you, so you're going to be killed. But yeah, very Hunger Games-ish, even though this is still in the 60s, yeah? And they go into the machine, then they come out of the machine a bit catatonic. Mm-hmm. The guy, Abu, dies. Mm-hmm. And the young lady, what's her name? Vana.
Also comes staggering out of the machine.
Right, but she's saved by the Doctor and Jamie and Zoe and her apparently love interest. What's his name?
I thought Thara. Was that her brother or her?
No, that's her love interest.
Okay.
I think Thara is in love with her.
Okay. So the Doctor and the companions rescue Vana at the cost of the Doctor's favorite umbrella. His poor umbrella is ruined.
It's true. Alright, so anyway, in the meantime, the Doctor, Jamie, and Zoe had gone around to the front of the machine, to the learning hall, to try and explain to them that the guy at the back end was killed. And Jamie has to engage their head guard in hand-to-hand combat.
Which I love, that fantasy trope of sci-fi clashes with medieval, and they're this strikingly civilized race. However, they're still very barbaric in terms of some scientific
trial by combat.
Yeah, they still have clubs and like really uncivilized weapons, and Jamie waltzes in and he tries to barge in and the guard says no, and he's like, I'll take you on, and then the guard's like, okay, I accept your challenge, and they're...
Well, he has an axe, not a club. Yeah.
Oh, an axe club.
We can move this forward.
It's almost like a pickaxe. It's like
More like an axe.
It's a club-looking thing with sharpened points on the ends.
It's a really, really, really basic axe made of stone.
It reminds me more of a club. It's like two pyramid shapes on the.
Well, it's a really basic axe.
Base.
Club would be more blunt.
Yeah, like war clubs. A mace. Maybe it's more like a mace.
No.
Anyway.
So JD beats the guy in hand-to-hand combat, but they can't stop the girl from going in. But they go to the back end to save her.
Mm-hmm.
But she does come up catatonic. So they go back around to
she's rescued from the vaporizing mists.
Right.
Doctor's umbrella.
Right. The disintegration mist, the doctor's umbrella is damaged. And they take her to the house of her love interest father.
Yes.
Right. So she's trying to recover, and the doctors.
Selrus is the father of Vana.
Yeah.
Selrus is the elected leader of the Gons people, which is why Thara says, "Well, that's your daughter. Can't you do anything?"
No.
And he's like, "No, it's tradition. She must be sent to the Krotons."
Yes, these Gons. Gons fully accept the will of the Krotons because they grow up living and learning on these learning machines, and the Krotons feed them knowledge, but only the knowledge they want to feed them. And learning machines apparently have a lot of math and a lot of interesting dynamics, but no biology, no chemistry. So they're kind of stuck in a little bit in a Stone Age.
Nothing you can develop gunpowder with.
Right, maybe a Bronze Age.
Electric tools are based off of solar energy.
Right. So they have enormous knowledge in one area and nothing in pretty much everywhere else. But the doctor convinces them. Wait. What's his name? The love interest name? Thara. He's very set against Vana. What's her name?
Vana, the one that got rescued?
Yeah, he's very set against her going in.
Yes.
He's the son of the leader, and he's kind of leading a rebellion.
No, Vara's the son of Selrus.
Right, Thoma.
Vana is the daughter of Selrus, which is why Thara, when Vana's chosen to go into the machine, Thara says, "Well, you're her father. Can't you do anything?"
Right. So Thara's the love interest.
Yes.
And
Vana is the daughter of the leader Selrus.
Right.
Which is why I thought they were brothers, but I don't know.
Wait.
I thought they were related.
I think they are brother and sister.
Because
no love interest between them.
Isn't Thara
they're
also
friendly, but they're sibling friendly.
Well, I mean, he's protective of his sister.
Right.
So Vana is the daughter of Selrus, the leader, and I think Thara...
Yes, so I don't remember that point.
We think Thara is also the son of Selrus, but we're not sure.
Yeah.
This serial moved really quickly. There's a lot of information, a lot of names and characters and plot in these 4 episodes.
Like I said, it could have been 6 episodes.
So it was hard to keep up.
4.
There's this guy that kept coming up in the credits, Axis, and we have no idea who that is. I wrote that name down, but we couldn't really figure out who it was.
Okay, so the doctor tells him, hey, the other guy was killed, we'll go save the girl. He goes and saves the girl. Then they go back around to the front, and apparently they recognize the doctor as a superior intellect, and possibly the leader, and this because vacuumy thing comes out and looks for the doctor.
Because Thara had grabbed his entourage and they stormed the learning halls and they're like, "We want revenge, we want to rescue."
Well, that was after this, right?
Yeah, after they rescue Vana.
Right, first
so they storm the learning hall and they start smashing the learning machines.
Oh, yeah.
And then the doctor rushes in and he takes the club out of his hand. He's like, "What are you doing? This isn't going to solve anything. You can't fight these superior beings with your clubs."
Right.
And the Krotons are watching this and they see the doctor, storming in and taking charge of the situation and instructing these people, and they're like, "Well, he must be the leader." So they do this like kind of archaic printout of his face, and they're like, "Well, he's the leader. Let's feed that face into this machine, and he's our hit target." So they send out this War of the Worlds looking snake machine that has a vaporizing port on its eye thing.
Mm-hmm. And he goes out looking for the doctor.
Yes.
But he just covers his face with his hands, and the machine can't find him.
He's like, where'd he go? It's like this odd game of peekaboo. The doctor's like, where'd I go? And the machine's like, huh? Where'd he go?
And he's like, stupid machine. And then somebody runs up to attack it after the other guys have been attacking the other machines. He attacks it and he gets vaporized. And the machine goes back in thinking to kill the doctor.
I was like, well, that's probably the doctor, right?
Right. Well, that was the end of episode 2, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the machine army thing that tried to kill the doctor goes back in. And the Krotons tell all the Gons.
We have killed your leader.
Yeah, leave the hall. Right, so leave the hall. Leave the learning hall. Yeah, you know, they smashed up several machines, which helped them to learn, helped them to understand everything.
Yes.
So the leader, what's his name?
Celeris.
He goes, everybody leave. And they pretty much all do. They leave the learning hall.
Now that they saw that guy get vaporized, they're like,
yeah, let's go.
Maybe we should leave.
Right. So the doctor ends up asking Selrond to investigate the place.
Yes.
So he and Zoe and Selrond look to investigate the place, while they leave Jamie to take care of Vana.
Yes, Ivana was the catatonic person they rescued.
Right, who the doctor
went into the machine and came out the other side.
Right, and the doctor hypnotized her to fall asleep. Yeah, she's female, so she survives. Only men are killed.
Yes.
Chivalry.
Abu was the red shirt Star Trek person.
Right, and there was another male red shirt in the second episode.
Basically, all 5 people that died were sport.
And were men. Yeah, yay, chivalry.
Didn't see it coming.
Yay, chivalry. All right. So
there's this one point later on where they're negotiating, and they're like, "I will kill this person over here for no reason." It's like, what was that for?
So the doctor gets Celeris, and he and Zoe and Celeris investigate the Hall of Learning.
Yes.
And the doctor's like, well, what's down here in this trap door? And Celeris says, well, it's the underhall. And the doctor goes, well, let's look at it. And they tell Zoe to stay up on the regular hall, and they go in the underhall. And Zoe is bored, and she logs into one of the machines.
The most advanced learning machine.
Right. Turns out she knows it all because, to be fair, it has been established she's a mathematical genius. And the doctor acknowledges that several times in this episode, in this serial actually. And so she kicks ass on the machine. The doctor and Celeris eventually come up, and Celeris is like, look, there was nothing down there. The doctor's no, there were roots. There were roots. And they've already established this is a silicon-based thing?
Crystallic.
It's,
so we have this machine, which isn't so much machine as it is, organic, and it's made out of this one material called tellurium. And it's propped up on these metallic crystallic bases, which grow in this root-like structure, because this crystallic mechanism, which is organic and mechanic and all machine-like, and it's all very interesting and mysterious. And they're like, so this machine that people are going into is like organic and it's kind of living, and we don't really know what's going on.
And we're very well into the third or fourth.
They're poking at the door, and they're like, it's weird. It's really hard, but it's not.
It's a crystalline structure, but it's not brittle.
Yeah, it's not brittle like a metal. It's.
Hey, so while they're gone,
which is another really interesting sci-fi trope, which I really enjoy. I think they're really exploring different. It's before its time. It's these.
Agreed.
It's breaking out of the box of sci-fi. They're exploring these different concepts and these different...
Before its time.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's interesting. It's really
Doctor
interesting.
Who, there's 1,000 aspects of Doctor Who that were before its time.
This is one of them.
So, Zoe had played on the machine, and she registered really high as a high brain, and so the Krotons sent a message that she should be sent in to become one of their...
The Hunger Games.
companions.
Congratulations,
Right.
you have been chosen.
Yeah,
'Cause you're really smart.
You're gonna die. Yeah. So the doctor's like, no, I must go with you. So he hooks into the same computer, and he has a few misfires.
The Doctor's never really good at machinery. He struggles operating the TARDIS. He sort of had the same struggles in figuring out the machine.
Yeah.
He's like, what does this button do? He multiplies when he's supposed to divide.
Right.
But eventually he figures it out, and he scores
Eventually.
even higher than Zoe. But
he
Zoe
answered
says,
more questions,
He
right?
answered more questions, so there's this fun rivalry between these two
Okay.
brilliant minds. And
It is eventually established, although kind of here, the Doctor is not the greatest academician.
he's like Einstein. He's
not that good in school.
He's so brilliant that he's distracted. He's constantly thinking of some things, and he's not focusing on what he should be.
You can claim that.
Right?
And
Or
it's possible.
He's not a good test
To be
taker.
fair, right, he's not a good test taker. He's not good at school. And that is established over many decades.
I'm not
Many
saying that
doctors.
to try to discredit Zoe. I think Zoe, nailed the test because she's
a
not
genius.
only brilliant, but she's also, trained to just be super focused and super in the moment. And she's great at honing her mind. And,
Right, she's a mathematical prodigy.
Yeah.
She's a genius. So
it's not saying that the Doctor's not as brilliant in Zoe. It's just saying that brilliance can't be really measured in the same way in different people. It's like two people can be brilliant, but one person will be more talented at a certain task while someone else is.
But it's heavily implied Zoe is better at this than the
Yeah,
Doctor.
she's much better at the learning machine.
Okay, so
it's this fun rivalry between these two really brilliant minds.
they're high minds.
Yeah, high minds.
High minds.
That's how
So they get taken into the Krotons machine as high minds. The Krotons machine strobes a light at them and sucks
Force
up.
field.
Huh?
Force field is what
Force
they
field.
refer to it as.
Well, there is a force field.
And they can't
But
move.
It sucks up their mental acumen, and
It attempts to make them catatonic, like suck all their mental energy out. But
acumen.
the Doctor pulls out his stopwatch, and he tells Zoe to hold on to the chain to equal out the.
Right, to equilibrize what's going on.
to equalize the
Alright, so
mental tractor beam.
So the Doctor and Zoe survive the light flashing and it absorbing a good amount of their mental acumen.
Explain that word, acumen. It's like
capabilities.
Stamina.
Capabilities.
It doesn't subtract from their mental capabilities. It takes like the...
Well, maybe temporarily. But
yes.
Acumen means capabilities, usually mentally. Mental capabilities.
Yes.
Mm.
It doesn't make them any less smart. It just kind of zaps them of all their cognition, or at least normally it zaps people of all cognition, except they're sort of better off because they held onto the chain, which
helped equalize
this
Yeah.
thing.
Alright, so are we to the end of the third episode?
Just about. No, the third episode ends with the earthquake. Right? Yeah.
Alright, so the Doctor and Zoe managed to escape from the spaceship.
Yes, because they retained a lot of their cognition from throwing off the sort of brainwashing machine. They're like, I can't remember the words. Conditioned. The Krotons are like, they were supposed to be conditioned, and the other Krotons are like, well, the conditioning must have failed because they just got up and left.
Well,
after
they thought they were
absorbed
Gons, but they're not Gons.
Yes, they're not Gons, which probably also had to do with what was going on. So they were able to get up afterwards and walk into the other room and try to look for the exit.
Mm-hmm.
And when they first landed on the planet, the doctor picked up a solidified mica, yeah. So they were able to short circuit a door
with the mica,
which was the backdoor exit, which Abu Gon left and got vaporized, and then Vana also went out that back door, but she's rescued. So they knew that the vaporizing mist guns were there, so they, when they were exiting, they jumped off to the side rather than going straight down the ramp, so they avoided the vaporizing mist. And
they go off into the wasteland, which is supposed to be toxic, but it's not anymore.
Right. We're told back in the day when the Gons were at war with the Krotons, as very advanced as they were, had sulfuric acid rain, which just destroyed this place and had toxic fumes and killed out a whole bunch of people, which is why the Gons, were kind of the losers in the war, and they came to the table with not a lot of negotiating power.
Right.
When they were forming an alliance, they're like, okay, we surrender, and that's why the Krotons were like, all right, so terms and treaty of this, the condition of our alliance is that we're going to give you learning machines, we're going to be allies,
you will obey us.
Yeah, you obey all commands without question. But when Zoe and the doctor were in the machine and they got zapped of their mental power, it was transferred into this machine which converted mental power into energy, which fed into this vat of like crystallic goo.
Ectoplasm, which seemed to animate a Frankenstein Kroton.
Yeah, that's how. So later it's explained that the Krotons don't really understand the concept of death. They're in this realm of thermodynamics where they, what was that word? They power down?
Right, they live forever.
What was the word at the end of their life cycle that they used? They were...
Exhaust?
They exhaust. So they're these crystallic, organic life forms, kind of metallic, kind of crystallic, but they don't understand the concept of death because as at the end of their lifespan they exhaust, and then I guess they're melted down and they're reanimated through the energized mental power that they steal from other life forces, which reanimates the Krotons from this crystallic vat.
It's a bit of supposition, but it makes sense given the cereal.
Given the context, it's
given
not
the context,
explicitly
sense,
explained.
It's a bit of supposition.
But this is what they sort of lead to believe, because there's this vat. So the doctor takes a sample of this goo, this soup, this ectoplasm soup.
He has been carrying a quart.
He just has it in his jacket.
Yeah.
So he and Zoe go off to the TARDIS to analyze this soup.
Correct.
And they're like, we're not leaving, are we? What about Jamie? And the doctor is like, Jamie's fine.
And Jamie's in the... Jamie followed them by crowbarring his way into the Kroton ship.
He tried to crowbar his way in, but then...
They finally let him in.
They let him in once they thought that they had need of him. Because they're like, we need to track down these people that just walked off. Because the conditioning failed.
They thought Jamie was a high brain like Zoe the doctor, and he's a primitive because he's from...
We met
17th century.
How do we match today?
Mostly khakis.
Khakis.
Mine's the leather, yours is
You know what khakis are in Boston?
What?
Khakis are what you start your care with. You gotta start your care with the khakis. You finish the plot, I'll be right back.
Welcome to Bad Humor, Doctor Who.
Get your khakis, hop in the car, go to the pack.
Wow. Okay, so the Doctor and Zoe have escaped from the pod. Jamie's gone into it looking for the Doctor and Zoe. They grill Jamie, but Jamie doesn't know what the Doctor and Zoe knows because he's a quote-unquote primitive brain. Oh my gosh. So racist, but so... Anyway, so it's because Jamie is from a much earlier period than Doctor and Zoe. So the Doctor and Zoe eventually get back around. Jamie, as a matter of fact, manages to escape. Love it, love it, love it. He keeps the Krotons talking in various bits and pieces when they're about to kill him. And while he keeps talking, he manages to escape. And he meets up with the Doctor and Zoe underground in the underhall with the the sulfuric acid amongst all the roots. They all manage to destroy the roots. And then eventually, because the roots are destroyed and because the loading machine is destroyed, the Krotons die. It's a wonderful, glorious ending. And then after the Krotons die, the Gons are like, yay, we'll live our own lives, but we should turn to the Doctor for help scientifically. But the Doctor, Jamie and Zoe have already gone. They're already off, heading off into the wobbly yonder, because it's a very short 4-episode serial. Alright, I'm done explaining this.
Finish the serial. Yep. Or recap. This was a fairly violent serial. We had 5 deaths within 4 episodes.
Not that violent. We've had more.
It's just so visceral how they were evaporated by these mists and the dusts. And just,
true.
The acting was on point with the looks of horror, and it's just, I don't know, it's more convincing than I've found the previous deaths. Like when the Daleks would shoot their death mists at people and they go, and then they just fall over, and you think it's not really immersive. But this, it had really good video editing to where these people are just devolving into this dust. It's just really scary to think about.
It was well edited. I would agree with that. It was well edited.
Which is essential for this type of serial, because you have these sort of mysteries and these plot devices they're developing. They're throwing a lot of characters at you. Characters are developing. There's a lot of action, so it's like point. You gotta keep up with it.
It really should have been 5 or 6 episodes, not 4.
Yeah. But I don't know. I kind of like when they throw a lot at you really quickly, and it doesn't really lend them, the showrunners or the scriptwriters, enough time to go out and dialogue and explain everything that's happening. So it just sort of hints at stuff, and it lets you as the viewer kind of put A and B together, and you have to figure out, okay, well that must be how they regenerate after their exhaustion, and that's what the goop is for, and the soup, and it's like, well, you know, what's happening? Because you talked about how the last 2 Krotons, I think there's only 1 Kroton until Zoe and the Doctor came along, and their mental energy led to the revival of the second Kroton out of the soup. That Frankenstein guy that came out.
Right, it would seem as such.
So then we had 2 on screen, and they explained exasperatedly at Jamie that there used to be more, but they died in the war of the Gons and the Krotons. Now, the Krotons landed on this planet, and how they regenerated after their exhaustion period was from mental energy. But the Krotons, or the Gons, I mean, weren't mentally advanced enough to give them enough mental energy to really fuel their regeneration.
Right.
So that's why they're down to the last Kroton until the Doctor and Jamie came along, which scored twice as high as their most brilliant minds of the Gons.
Correct.
Off the Richter scales. So they're like, so the Krotons must have been thinking, well, this is our chance, our one opportunity to get off this world with all these lame brains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but they die as they should because they're the bad guys.
They are the bad guys, and it's really kind of terrifying how these life forms, these organic crystal structure robotic life forms, didn't really understand the concept of death, which is horrifying to us, normal human peoples and the Gons, because they'd invite the two smartest people in, they'd zap them of all their energy, they'd be catatonic, and the Krotons' point of view is, well, we've used them up for all they're worth, so we're just going to disperse them, because they didn't really understand what murdering people was like, because they're like, we can never die, we don't die. It's like, and Jamie, when he's in the ship, or this machine, he's like, you're just killing people, we don't, regenerate after we exhaust, we're just dead. And you're like, you're useless though, we just disperse of you once we, and you're useless to us.
Exactly.
So it's a really scary concept of how these alien life forms are so advanced that they don't understand, the concept of life and death. And they're just like, well, we'll use you up and disperse of you. And Jamie's like, well, that's terrible. You can't do that. So it's a really interesting sci-fi trope, and another thing in which I think the Doctor Who show is well before its time.
Exactly, because it's like, it's still the 60s,
Yes, still the 60s.
Alright, so what questions do you have?
I have a whole bunch.
Good.
The first episode was really striking, how we had these Gons who were an advanced civilization, yet they had really crude weapons, but that gets answered later on. We talked about the Doctor's favorite umbrella. Does he have a whole lot of favorite things that he uses? Does that differ from Doctor to Doctor? Because we have this guy's favorite thing is celery sticks, or
okay, that's a long story.
The pocket watch keeps coming back, so that's some things transfer from Doctor to Doctor, but some are just within that generation.
Pocket watch takes on greater meaning later.
Okay, cool. So it's
fob watch.
The fob watch is kind of a reoccurring tool, like the sonic screwdriver. It just
eventually
it has significant meaning.
Eventually,
but then we have other things which don't carry on from Doctor to Doctor, like the recorder, and I don't really know what else.
Sometimes,
which is cool. So some things are recurring tools and have significant meaning.
Are not. Yeah.
Others are just significant to that one Doctor and his personality.
Right.
Which is kind of like the umbrella. Which, I don't know, it's always interesting for me to sort of try to think or put myself in the shoes of the Doctor. It's like, well, that was his favorite umbrella. Was it Hartnell's favorite umbrella? Or how does he know it's his favorite umbrella? Does it, tie into the 500-year journal? Or just that generation of the Doctor decided, oh, well, this is my favorite umbrella.
It's an umbrella.
Because we've never seen it before.
It's an umbrella.
So it's interesting to put yourself in the psyche of a Time Lord and how that personality changes from regeneration to regeneration. It's like, well, how do they decide what is significant and what isn't significant?
There are many significant objects, and umbrella is not one of them.
He just has this chest of things. Well, it's significant to him, but not within the whole confines of the show. It's not significant.
Correct.
But it was his favorite umbrella.
Correct.
So it's kind of zany. It's kind of fun.
Okay.
The Doctor once again hypnotizes somebody. We've seen that before.
Right.
He does it again with Vana to try to. He always uses hypnotism as a way to cure brainwashing. We've seen it. His hypnotism using the same pocket watch to cure the brainwashing of Wotan, the machine. I think hypnotized somebody, and then he uses it now to try to cure the somewhat brainwashing of the Krotons after they condition Vana.
Right, he uses it on humans to get past Wotan's brainwashing, and they were brainwashing.
So it's really cool to see the Doctor's different set of skills, hypnotism being one.
Later on, he has an antagonist, the Master, who uses brainwashing to great effect. Also a Time Lord.
Also a Time Lord. So that's a recurring theme, is hypnotism and brainwashing with Time Lords. Is that just because they're so mentally advanced that it's easier for them to sort of gain control? Because you would, let's imagine a moral scale. Hypnotism would be on the good side of the moral scale because it's used for beneficial means like hypnotherapy, and then on the other side of that, on the morally evil side of the scale, would be brainwashing. It's like mental conditioning for evil purposes. So
and there's crossover there.
So there's the contrast between the Doctor and the Master is
right,
using their same set of skills for good and evil.
Right, but there's crossover. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's the morally gray area where this, it's like, what is this and what is that? Speaking of morally gray areas, we're presented a somewhat antagonist in the form of Elic. We talked about Elic and his coup to overthrow Celeris. Celeris, who is the elected leader of the people, but then Elic starts campaigning against, we need to strike back at the Krotons, and we need to go to war to free ourselves. So he has the best interest of his people in mind. He's a good person, right? He wants what's best in theory, and he is a person who is at odds with the Doctor and his companions because Elic is someone who wants the good of the many versus the
good of the few.
Good of the few. It's the greater good. He's completely willing to sell out Zoe and the Doctor to hand them over to the Krotons in order to negotiate freedom for his people. Mm-hmm. Which, is that morally justifiable to save thousands of lives at the cost of 2 lives? Well, it's like one evil action ensures the salvation of many people, or the Doctor is a person who's so morally upright where he's saying, we cannot save the lives of the many at the cost of even 1 life. We can't sacrifice people or surrender people or hand people over just to save the many. It's like, what are your thoughts on that? Where do you stand?
I don't know.
So it's like you have a boat, and say the boat starts to sink, and you have lifeboats which can only hold half the population. So say you decide to save, women and children, and you put them on the lifeboat, and the other half of the population of the boat drowns with the ship. Well, let's say that lifeboat springs a leak, and you have another lifeboat which again can only hold half the population of that lifeboat. It's like, who do you save? And then if that lifeboat starts to sink and you have buoys or life preservatives, but only for half the people on the ship, you keep dividing by half. It's like, who do you choose? Who do you choose? It's a moral quandary.
Yeah.
Which is sort of the position Elic is thrust into. He's like, sure, it's evil and it's awful to sacrifice and surrender up the Doctor and Zoe, who are allies of the Gons, but he's doing it for the good of the rest of the people.
Mm-hmm. Women and children first. Always.
So
women and children first.
You would sacrifice the Zoe and the Doctor to save the rest of the people, the greater good.
I would die to save my wife and or any other women and children.
But would you sacrifice someone else to do this?
I would sacrifice myself to save my wife and or any other women and children.
But the Krotons weren't asking for Elic to sacrifice himself. They were asking him to sacrifice Zoe and the Doctor. So it's like, well, Elick is in the position of, he's a realist. He's like, well, I'll have to sacrifice Zoe and the doctor to save all of the Gons, whereas the other hand, the doctor and Zoe are in a moral position which can only be fueled by hope and, risking things. It's like, well, I'll risk everything to save everyone rather than sacrifice even one person to save the many. It's a hard choice to make.
That's a bit vague, but yeah.
Alright.
But I would die to save my wife. I would die to save me.
As would anyone.
Nearly any woman or child. Seriously. Women and children first.
We had a whole bunch of fun quotes by the doctor. He said, "Great jumping gobstoppers," and "Oh my giddy
that
hands."
Was funny, yeah.
Where did these phrases come from?
Oh, the British. They are very British.
Is that like a Willy Wonka gobstopper?
Yes, actually.
So is the doctor spent a lot of time?
The book Willy Wonka was out before this.
Mm-hmm.
The movie was out after this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So he's using literature quotes.
Yes, he is.
We can assume that the doctor has spent a lot of time in Britannia to pick up these phrases.
Yes, we can actually. Yes, we can. The doctor loves the Earth, and he especially loves the United Kingdom.
So that's already in effect. That's not something he stumbles upon later on where he forms his bond. He's always had a strong bond with the Earth and
the United Kingdom, yeah. I think this is where the show's from, so that's cool.
So we already talked about how Zoe was almost too smart for the learning machine, and the doctor having trouble with the machine.
He
did
sort of
first, too, intellectual thing.
He figured it out later, but... Yeah.
But following that, Zoe was asked to go into the machine of the Krotons, which they knew surely meant sudden death, as they saw the people exiting the machine murdered. And the doctor's like, well, you can't send Zoe. She's, we know that they're trying to kill these people afterwards. And Celeris is like, it's the only way. We have to send her in. And the doctor is willing to sacrifice himself. He's like, well, I'll go with her. And why did they take this risk if they knew that, the Krotons are trying to kill them afterwards, whatever happens in the machine?
Because the doctor's willing to take any risk.
Willing to take that risk.
Sure.
He's betting his intellectual...
Yeah. You would take any risk for your fiancé, right?
Yeah, sure.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing.
I think I would be more willing to take that risk beforehand in trying to escape entering the machine in the first place, rather than betting on my intellectual prowess to save myself and my fiancé and taking the risk of entering the machine. Anyway.
If it was you or Sarah, you would take the risk / die for Sarah, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But the doctor and...
That's the same thing. That's the same thing. The doctor would take any risk for his companions, and he would accept his fate over that,
Yeah. But they go on it in different ways. I'm very much like Thara, who is also a good person. He's a good guy. He's willing to sacrifice himself for Vanna, but the way he goes about it is to, try to take that sacrifice early on. This is a fight going into the machine in the first place. Whereas the doctor is so confident in his intellectual abilities, he's like, let's risk it and go in the machine and find out what we can learn, and then he's willing to bet that he can figure out and outsmart and escape the machine, and he's willing to go in with Zoe under the the gamble that they can escape it. Whereas I'm not as confident in my intellectual abilities, so I'm much more like Thara, who I'd be like, well, let's just turn tail and not go into the machine in the first place. I'm not too concerned with what's inside of it. I'm not trying to figure out this mystery. I just know that people end up dying on the other side of it, so let's not go in the first place. The doctors will you're not going in alone, I'll go in with you. We'll figure out what we can. We'll figure out this mystery of what's going on inside. And then we'll probably outsmart it and we'll, gamble it all and we'll try to escape.
Right.
Let's see, what's next? One thing I noticed, a recurring theme is the doctor, like we mentioned before, is so confident in his intellectual capabilities that he's willing to risk things like entering situations which are, almost certain death, and he's willing to gamble that he's going to figure things out and be able to escape and outsmart the opposition.
Right.
It almost puts him in this position of being overconfident and kind of, assumes things which aren't always correct. Like when they go out the other side and they're going to the TARDIS to analyze the soup, and Zoe turns to the doctor and she goes, "What about Jamie? We can't just leave Jamie." And the doctor, so overconfident and sort of convinced in himself, is like, "Well, Jamie's fine. He's safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing bad can happen to him." While in reality, Jamie's very much in danger because he is now in the machine. He came in after them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this weird. It's almost like the Doctor's kryptonite is he's this very capable, smart, intellectual person, but his downfall is his overconfidence and to where he kind of thinks ahead, but he also makes mistakes. He's not perfect in the fact where he'll be overconfident and assume things and make assumptions. He goes, "Well, Jamie's fine. He'll be fine. He's not in danger, but he's in danger." So they're taking this person, the Doctor, this Time Lord, who's not really relatable, but in his flaws it makes him more relatable because, you have to have your protagonist relatable to the viewer, right? You can't be this all-powerful person because that's, too much of a Mary Sue.
Yeah, sure. I'm guessing, yeah. Sorry, I'm drunk.
You're feeling very good at it.
I'm feeling very good.
You were
and you
at the point. I'm feeling a bit lightheaded.
Yeah,
I don't think I'm feeling as good as you are.
You are so not driving. I'm not driving. I live here. Yay. We're living here.
Well, good deal. I am happy. You're drinking Magna Flame whiskey.
Yeah, at the moment.
Putting that whiskey back. All right, well, we're almost done, I promise. I have just a couple of questions.
What are your other questions?
Do you know what dynatrope means? Because DYNA is the beginning to a lot of different words and phrases like dynasty and dynacharge and dynatrope. I don't ever really know what those words mean. Well, I know what a dynasty is, but it seems like a DYNA is a phonetical thing that keeps coming up in English words, but I don't really understand.
Long lasting?
Long lasting is what it means. That makes sense. That makes sense.
So the trope, dynatrope is long lasting. Trope, long lasting, whatever that is,
So that's kind of a literary question that I don't know the answer to. Probably comes somewhere from Latin, I'm assuming. Like a Latin word where they take...
I'm running on my English in college,
Good. I had a couple of English classes. Was never very good at it. To be fair, I wasn't very good at any subject. I'm a solid B student. Except I'm pretty bad at math. I'm not great at spelling either. I think geography would be my jam. But I really enjoyed English class. Literature class was fun. Math? I'm bad at math. I'm a pretty poor speller, reader. I think I might be, I don't want to say dyslexic, but maybe attention deficit. I never really saw a doctor about it, so this is kind of self-diagnosing. I just feel like I get really distracted when I'm trying to study or read. I'm not a great student.
What's the quad root of 64?
I can't use it.
The quad root
Quad?
of 64. Quad root.
Is that like a square root?
Quad root.
The square root?
The quad
64?
root of 64.
Is that 8? What times itself? Squared is what times itself equals 64?
No. Quad root of 64.
I don't know what a quad root is. Is that not a square? That's to the power of 4?
No, the root of 4.
Of 4? 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 is 64?
Go backwards, yeah. Quad root.
So 4 to the power of 4 is 64.
Right.
So the quad root of 64 is 4?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
I never got past square roots. I took college algebra.
That's not algebra. That's beyond algebra.
Well, okay, I never took that then. I took geometry, I took algebra, and I went to college, and my college math prerequisite was college algebra, and I took that, and then an elective was intro to calculus, which I took a couple of classes of, or I took a couple of days of intro to calculus, and I dropped it immediately. I'm like, this is not for me. I can't do calculus.
Yeah, I got up to Cal 2.
That's really impressive. That's probably where you do quad roots and stuff. I never did quad roots.
Cal 2 sucks. It sucks.
Cal 1 sucks. Intro to calculus sucks.
Agreed.
It starts off so deceptively easy, where they're teaching you what all the different symbols and things mean, and then the very second day, the theoretical, or what's the word? I can't think of it. The intro to it is, it's deceptively simple. You're like, oh yeah, okay, I understand that. And then the very next class, it's all of a sudden they throw all this stuff at you. And you're like, I have no idea what's going on anymore. Mm-hmm. So I ended up dropping intro to calculus, and I dropped photography because I went to the very first class of photography because I was an art major, which is why I can't do math. Art majors can't do math. That's why they're doing art. So I was taking a photography class, but it was super confusing. They're talking about exposures and films and the syllabus reading. I'm like, I have no idea what any of this means. So I dropped it for a business computer applications class instead. But I never finished my art degree. I have an associate's. What's next?
Where the hell were we? Okay, what's your next?
I have a question about the HAD system, the Hostile Action Displacement System, which is another system in the TARDIS. I love talking about TARDIS systems and their acronyms.
The TARDIS is
because we talked about
moves. Okay.
Yeah, we talked about the chameleon circuit and yada yada yada. And, the HAD system, Hostile Action Displacement System, is in which the TARDIS recognizes hostile action. It dematerializes and moves and rematerializes. And Zoe's like, oh, the TARDIS was destroyed. Oh wait, no it's not. It rematerialized. It's back. And the Doctor's like, haha, yeah, that's the HAD system. It parked in a funny place because it doesn't have me behind the wheel. And Zoe's like, oh, you knew it was going to rematerialize. He's like, yeah, that's the HAD system, the Hostile Action Detection System, which, when the Krotons were tracking the Doctor and Zoe, but then they lost them, and then they were like, well, they must have gone in the TARDIS and tried to destroy the TARDIS. And the TARDIS is just like, nope, see you later. And then the Krotons left, and the TARDIS came back. It rematerialized after it stopped detecting the hostile actions. Now, this is a system of the TARDIS that we've never seen before, because every time someone tried to destroy the TARDIS, they didn't have much success. The TARDIS is very durable. It has a lot of defensive mechanisms. We saw in Marco Polo where they picked up and moved the TARDIS on a wagon. We saw where the Sensorites took the lock out of the TARDIS, but typically the TARDIS is a very durable thing that can't really be destroyed. It has a lot of I don't know how to explain it. So, what is the necessity of the HAD system? Why does it need to dematerialize when it senses hostile action? It's almost a system which is in place just to throw off the attackers, to make them think that, to fool them into thinking, well, they succeeded in destroying the TARDIS when they really haven't.
That's good. I agree with that. That's good.
Even though the TARDIS could just sit there and weather all the beatings and abuse and the attacks and come out on the other end unscathed, the HAD system is more of a trickery, oh, you've got it, it's gone now, kind of system.
Right.
Why we've never seen this system in place before is because the retcon explanation was Troughton explained, well, it's only when I remember to sit the HAD system is when that happens, which is why we haven't seen it before, because apparently he's never set that system in place. So, no real explanation why he isn't. So that's the HAD system. We talked about Elec and his moral, his representation of his moral position of the greater good, or just the overall good, at the risk of many, to preserve the lives of the few, so that no evil actions must be taken, versus Elec's position of, the moral position of the greater good over the lives of the few. And we talked about the Krotons not understanding the concept of death, and that's just about every question I have. I think we've covered it all. Do you have anything else you'd like to add to this?
No, I am.
You're feeling pretty good, Hatter.
I'm really drunk.
Yeah, you are. We had a lot of lost time to make up for.
Exactly.
We haven't had the podcast in a while. How was?
Wait, you're not joking, right?
Oh, we'll figure it out.
No.
Whether Uber.
I have a guest room. You can sleep here.
I appreciate that, Hatter. You're always.
You are not driving.
Gracious host.
You are not driving.
Yes, sir.
You are
drive responsibly. This podcast is sponsored by Responsible Driving. Now, how is your, what do you call it?
What do you call it?
Social distancing vacation.
Listen,
how was your quarantine, Hatter? That's what I meant to say. How was your quarantine?
Fairly severe. But
Pretty
Lisa and
severe.
I have both encountered the coronavirus. So we're good. We are good.
Good.
Fine.
Glad to hear you made it.
You are not driving.
On the other end, well, we still have an uphill battle to face as we continue social distancing
You're not driving.
and wearing our masks in public places and not gathering large social groups. But my quarantine has been equal parts productive as it has been unproductive. There have been the days where I've been really sleepy and stayed in bed and just was lazy all day and played video games. And there have also been the days in which, I'm like, well, I gotta get out and do something. I did a lot of yard work and cleaned up the garage, but it almost got to the point where I was so severely bored and was feeling the stress of cabin fever that you almost do just dumb things just out of boredom. I ruined a hair blow dryer. So I got out of the shower and my hair's all wet and I'm drying off with the towel and I'm blow drying my hair, and I have this candle lit in the bathroom because you light a candle in the bathroom to make it smell nice. And the candle's been burning for a while. It's at the point where the wax is getting real melted and the wick's getting too tall, so it's burning too hot. The wick's too tall. So I gotta blow it out. I'm like, well, I could walk across the room and blow out the candle, or I could just blow it out with a hair blow dryer from across the room. Because I don't know, I have weak breath. I don't have a large lung capacity, I guess. I'm not great at swimming. I can't hold my breath real long. So I've experimented. I've tried blowing candles out from across the room. there's some really interesting world record videos of people blowing out candles from like really long distances. I don't know how they do it, but they channel their breath into these like air balls, and they're so accurate too. They put this candle over on a stool, like really far, like several feet away across the room. You just go, whoosh, and you can blow a candle out. I can't do that. I can't, for the life of me, have any sort of lung capacity. So I'm like, well, I'm real lazy. I'm standing over here. The candle's over there. I'll just blow the candle out with the hair blow dryer. And it worked great. It blew the candle out, and there's all this smoke. And the smoke, because I have the door open, is venting this way. I'm like, it's getting real smoky. I don't want the smoke blowing in my face. So I'm like, well, I could blow the smoke over there, or I could take the hair blow dryer and use the intake to blow the smoke that way. You know, you're at the point where you're suffering from cabin fever and you're just really bored. So you're experimenting. You're like, well, this is something to do, I guess. So I'm like, so if I hold the hair blow dryer intake next to the candle, it'll suck up the smoke and then blow it that way. So I walk over, I'm sucking up the smoke with the intake of the hair blow dryer, and I'm blowing it that way, and it worked really well. But what I didn't anticipate is that the intake valve would be so powerful that it also suck up the wax from the candle. Because within a few seconds, I was expecting, you know, the wax wouldn't be super liquid; it'd start to solidify. Now the candle's been blown out for a few seconds, but it sucked up the wax. So I'm kind of I'm afraid of the condition my hair blow dryer's in. I don't think it got to the heating coils, because you would have been able to smell it. So I turned it off right away. I'm like, well, I'll have to take the vent guard off and clean it out and see if I can save my hair blow dryer. But I don't know if it's broken or not. It has a significant amount of candle wax on it.
It's okay.
I didn't know it would be able to suck it up from, you know, several inches. Anyway, you feeling good, Hatter?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we've just about covered this serial. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining us once again for episode 47. Gosh, we're at 47 already. The Drunk Doctor Who podcast. We appreciate you guys participating with us, sticking with us throughout our 2-month hiatus as we were practicing social distancing. We'd like to encourage you guys to continue practicing safe health precautions and continue to social distance. And we'll see you next time. I think we're having movie night next week, possibly. So we'll see you Tuesday after
2 weeks.
All right. Thanks. We'll see you next week. You do our outro.
Yeah, I know.
Say bye-bye.
You give me the intro.
Do-boo-boo-boo-boo.
No, you give me the intro.
Yeah, exactly. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Where's the off button? Is it? Oh, there it is. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.